In a world where legends rise and fall with every punch, where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching and whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show, she's being brought to you in part by, you guessed it, my book, Tom Molino, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just go to Amazon and check it out. Oh, wait, there's more because we have a special for you. That's right. If you visit BillyCBoxing.com and you can order the book directly from the publisher, I think it's going for $12. Brand new copies, $12. No limit. Holidays are coming up. Do it. Anyway, speaking of coming up, we got a busy show scheduled for you. First and foremost, Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. It's official. It's happening on Friday, December 19th. Will be broadcast for free, well, to anybody who has Netflix. We're going to be talking about that coming up a little bit later. I tell you, for shits and giggles, just FYI, I might go to it. You know, I submitted for credentials for the fight. It's in Florida. I don't know. I'll tell you what I think about it in a little bit, and we got plenty of time, 1 month actually, from today before the fight goes. We also got if you're new to the show, I've been so fed up with the ratings that we came up with our own, and we're breaking down each division every week, and then I'll be putting them out monthly. This week, we have the lightweight ratings, which I'll give you full breakdowns and predictions on the David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde fight, plus all the other main fights on the card, which seem to be great matchups. Dax is saying that I'm coming out of the closet being a Jake Paul fan. No, that's not it. But I do have some positive things to say about him. This week's guest is my man. He's a ring announcer. Henry Discombobulating Jones is scheduled to join us in a little bit. But first, let's talk about Conor Benn's huge win over Chris Eubank Jr. in the rematch. I was wrong. I picked Chris Eubank. I thought it would be the same thing. But if you missed the fight, I mean, Conor Benn came out, and he was just on a mission. I tell you, it was a very exciting fight as far as I'm concerned. He beat him. I was waiting for some bogus decision, but Conor Benn didn't leave it in the judge's hands by dropping Chris Eubank in the final round. So, listen. The scores 119-107, 116-110, 118-108. Conor Benn improves to 24-1 with 14 knockouts. His only loss coming at the hands of Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank Jr. falls to 35 wins, 4 losses, with 25 of his wins coming by knockout. It was an interesting situation because Ben was a welterweight, moved up to fight Eubank. When we were breaking down the fight, he was kind of in limbo with the rankings and where he was and everything else. He says that he wants to return and get a world welterweight title shot, specifically the WBC belt. But the funny thing is he's ranked now at middleweight. I think as high. I think I saw as high as number 4. So interesting thing there to see what unfolds with Conor Benn. Personally, I hope he stays doing what he's doing. And fights the way he fought, because what this is what bothers me. Sometimes these fighters go into a fight, they have a great great performance, and then they don't fight the same after that. Jack Catterall was able to take care of Esko Usman in the 11th round. A series of unanswered blows just stopped and knocked Usman through the ropes onto the ring. He wasn't able to beat the count. Jack Catterall improves to 32 wins, 2 losses, with 14 wins was coming by knockout, and Usman falls to 22 and 2. Adam Aziz took care of Kurt Scooby in 12 rounds in their fight as well. It was a decent card, and I was glad that I watched it. Now, let's talk a little about the big news. Anthony Joshua going up against Jake Paul. It is official. I got some stuff. I mean, when I got it from Jake Paul's team, I knew it was official. I was waiting for my man to report it on Fight News, Boxing Bob. I reached out to him. I said, "What are you hearing?" He said, "I haven't heard anything official." It was bouncing around for a couple of days. Then all of a sudden, it was, it was official. A couple of comments here I just want to get to in the chat room. Jesus is saying Billy thought on Virgil Ortiz saying that he can do whatever he wants, doesn't care what fans say. I didn't say that. Ortiz said it. And I'm going to touch on some of that news a little bit later. Dax kind of saying it's not far-fetched. AJ hasn't been hungry since Klitschko. Paul knows one loss. This is about over even enough. MVP has been great for female fighters. Look, here's the thing. Jake Paul said to ESPN, people keep telling me to fight someone my own size. Okay, how about I fight somebody who's bigger than me? His size makes him a tougher challenge than Crawford, because Crawford actually accepted it. He said, this is the most dangerous fight for me. Here's the thing. The fight is official. It's taking place December 19th in Miami. My initial thoughts, well, let me tell you this. In an official statement, Jake Paul said, a professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt disappears, and no one can deny me the opportunity to fight for a world title. To all my haters, this is what you wanted. To the people of the UK, I'm sorry. Here's the thing. I'm not so sure I'm not so sure that by beating Anthony Joshua would immediately get Jake Paul a title shot, because he could already have a title shot. That's the sad truth. The WBA had him ranked in their top 15, I believe in their top 12, actually. So he's technically eligible to fight for that one of their titles. But what does this fight mean? What does the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua fight mean? Well, I'll tell you something. What it means to me is if it's a real fight. Now, I know that it's a sanctioned fight. I know, and I agree. Dax, I had sent you a link. I don't know if you checked your email. But Dax is saying a prime AJ. When was AJ's prime over? It's not. When you look at Anthony Joshua's record, he hasn't fought since September 21st of last year. He's been active. He will be active by the time he steps in a ring a month from now, 15 months. He's coming off his loss to Danny Dubois when he was stopped in the 5th round. Before that, he stepped into the ring with another guy who didn't have any boxing experience, and a lot of people thought Francis Ngannou was going to beat Anthony Joshua, and we all saw what happened. So here's my thoughts. Jake Paul, first and foremost, win, lose, or draw, I give Jake Paul a lot of credit. You got to give him a lot of credit, all right? I don't care what you think about him. Do I think that he is a legitimate fighter? No, I don't. I've been saying it for a long time. I don't. I think he's a master promoter, and this is just another example of why. Now, if AJ gets in that ring and he fights even to half of his ability, he destroys Jake Paul. You know, I am not disputing the fact that it's going to be a sanctioned fight, because it will be. Florida is sanctioning the fight. It's going to be an 8-round fight. They're using official gloves for the heavyweight division, which are 10 ounce. Obviously 3-minute rounds. It's a real fight. It's a sanctioned fight. Okay. But here's the thing. Jake Paul, the way they're twisting this is they're saying, "Oh, Jake Paul's crazy. He's crazy." Anthony Joshua. First of all, Anthony Joshua fought Daniel Dubois the totally wrong way. As a matter of fact, when he was hurt, he should have did what he's supposed to do and try and hold on, slow it down, weather the storm. Instead, he went mano to mano. He went up trying to slug it out. You don't do that. Coach is saying the sanctioning. Yeah, it's being sanctioned by the state of Florida. There's no belt or anything on the line. It's being sanctioned by the state of Florida as a real fight. It's going to go down on the records as a real fight. Look, let me cut to the chase. My main fear about this fight is that it's not going to be legit. Okay. Yes, it's a sanctioned fight. Yes, it's a real fight on the books, but is it a real fight inside the ring? Is it predetermined? Is Anthony Joshua going through the same stuff? I actually saw things on social media that said, "Oh, well, Jake Paul has a better chance of winning against Anthony Joshua than he would have against Tank Davis." It's like, what's wrong? Tank Davis specifically said that this was a cash-out fight for him, that he didn't care about, what people thought, and he lost interest in the sport of boxing, et cetera, et cetera, and he was using his fight as a cash-out fight. Now, the whole episode of what happened with Tank Davis, which canceled him, there was a lot of rumor that the ticket sales were very poor, and they were anticipating poor viewership because no one took the fight seriously because of the size difference. And there could have been a tactical move on both parts. You haven't heard anything from Tank Davis. I am going to ask my man, Discombobulating Jones, who's pretty good friends with Tank Davis, when he comes on a little bit later. But, so next thing you know, Jake Paul is fighting Anthony Joshua. So here's the thing. If Jake Paul can survive 8 rounds and still loses, I don't care. He goes up in value in terms of a boxer. Who knows what he'll do after that? And listen, it's a win-win for Jake Paul. Because if Jake Paul loses this fight, which I anticipate him to do if this is a real fight, let me tell you something. If Anthony Joshua gets in that ring and pussyfoots around and just, paws his jab and does all of these things to not try to win this fight, all right, I'll be so pissed, because, the truth of the matter is that, if he steps in this ring, even trying a little bit, he should destroy Jake Paul. Now, as far as Jake Paul's concerned, like I just said, it's a win-win situation for him, because whether he wins, whether he loses, whether he draws, whether he gets knocked out, whether he goes the distance, whether any of that stuff happens, the truth of the matter is his value goes up because he's doing this. Listen, how many fighters today, even in the heavyweight division, would want to fight Anthony Joshua? I mean, how many? This guy Ituma, Moses Ituma, would he fight Anthony Joshua? He wouldn't even fight Frank Sanchez, and he's getting a fast track, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. He's getting a fast track to a world title shot. Why is that? I don't understand. And he's getting the recognition. Jake Paul deserves some credit here. Not only does he deserve credit for stepping in the ring with Anthony Joshua, but he deserves credit as a really good promoter. He's got me interested in going and sitting ringside to watch this fight. And I'm sure that the rest of the card is going to be good. I haven't heard anything about the card. I'm assuming it's going to be the same card that was supposed to take place, but you never know. It's going to be taking place at the Kaseya Center in Miami, where the NBA's Heat plays. It's going to be set up for boxing where it can seat about 20,000 people. So we'll see what happens with that fight. And we'll continue to give you some thoughts on that as the show progresses here. I tell you, Coach is saying, give him credit, the same as Vince McMahon talking about promotion. But I tell you, I'll go a step further than that. I haven't seen a promoter promote fights and get the response as well as Jake Paul has been doing since Don King. Name another promoter that has done this and made some good fights. Not that his fight against Tyson was a good fight, but he's got people watching. 41 million people watched the Tyson-Jake Paul fight. They're estimating over 100 million to be tuned in to watch the Jake Paul-Anthony Joshua fight. As far as Anthony Joshua is concerned, he says, I'm going to destroy this guy. He better. And if he tries, even if he's in marginal shape, he's going to be a guy that should be able to take care of Jake Paul pretty easily. But anyway, I was waiting. I thought Dax was going to pop in, but he's back in the chat room. I did see him for a second, didn't get a chance to get him on, but some other news that I wanted to talk about. I'll jump here. Usyk vacated his WBO belt, so now he's not the undisputed world heavyweight champion. And they upgraded Fabio Wardley to be the WBO regular champion because he was the interim champion. This is my problem with the sport of boxing. I don't like the fact that I didn't think that Wardley should have even gotten that fight against Parker to begin with. I didn't agree with the fact that he was going to get a fast track to Usyk. Now they award him the title. I don't know. Maybe he fights the winner of Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. I don't know. But joining us right now, my man Dax Khan, Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul. Dude, what's your thoughts?
It's, you know what? I think you said it. You got to give Jake Paul credit. He is silencing his critics, and he is willing to do what a lot of professionals aren't willing to do. And I brought this up continuously during the original World Boston Super Series, where it was anybody who was ranked could enter so long as they earn their position, which is how Chris Eubank got in when he fought, I believe it was Arthur Abraham. But my point is that Jake Paul wants to show, win, lose, or draw, he is legit. Now, a journeyman is legit. A guy who is just a paid opponent is legit if they step in that ring and they do their job. But Jake Paul does not want to be looked at as a joke. And Anthony Joshua is the only guy right now that is willing to go in there. He knows where his position is inside the sport. Right now, Anthony Joshua has almost no credibility since the Dubois KO. His last 4 or 5 fights have not really gone his way, even the ones that he's won. So, yeah, you know something? Him going in there against Anthony Joshua and then dropping back down to cruiserweight where he really belongs, I believe Jake Paul, especially with what some of the other fighters who work around him have said, actually might do something that nobody ever thought of, and that's become a legitimate top 10 fighter.
Listen, I hope, I've said about Jake Paul, he works so hard, and I hope that he does become a legitimate fighter, so to speak. But he's jumping pretty high. I mean, he's going from, fighting 58-year-old Mike Tyson to Anthony Joshua. You could say what you want about Anthony Joshua, but when he's on, he's a tough out. His weakness, yeah, he's got a suspect chin. He didn't fight the right fight against Dubois, but we're not talking about Dubois. We're not talking about his last, half a dozen to a dozen. His last 10 opponents, all better than Jake Paul. I give Jake Paul credit for stepping in the ring, Dax.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, I'm not saying that Anthony Joshua is totally finished. He's done. He's, way washed up, or however you want to word it. My point of the matter is that he is going in there against a guy that is legitimate. And if he goes in there and let's just say, forget a knockout, let's say it goes a distance and he actually outboxes Anthony Joshua legitimately, not by what the judges say, but by what the fans see. Imagine, there will be a complaint. Somehow there will be a complaint by fans. Fans have a tendency to complain about anything, Bill. You know this. They complained about Beater Beeb and Bivol.
No, I know. Hey, listen, Dax, joining us right now. I got Coach Dave popping in. And I'll tell you something, Dax, just to finish that. If he goes the distance, he doesn't even have to win the fight. If he goes the distance with Anthony Joshua, I give him credit. Dave, what's your thoughts, man, on this Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul announcement? You got some stuff going, music in the back.
What's up, guys? I hope you can hear me a little bit.
Yeah, we hear it. We hear it all.
What's that?
We hear it all. We hear.
All right. Hey, you're very astute today, Billy.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the initial thoughts here on the Jake Paul Anthony Joshua fight?
Well, you heard about a little inside info here that Joshua was supposed to fight Cassius Chaney.
I had not heard that.
So I had conversation with Cassius after it had come out that there was rumor that he was supposed to be fighting Anthony Joshua, and once Joshua took the fight with Jake Paul, that fell out. Unfortunate for Cassius, would have been a great fight for him, and obviously he would have made some money, right? And maybe won. I'm not a big fan of this fight, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's just kind of giving me the WWE effect of boxing, that it's all for show, and there's really no meaning in this fight whatsoever.
Well, the meaning I see is, like what Dax just said before, that it's more of a recognition for Jake Paul, and I had heard and saw some a statement by Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn said that Anthony Joshua was trying to get a fight And he said, you're not going to even hear about it because it's going to be against a non recognizable opponent unless it was Jake Paul. Did you see that, Dax?
I believe, yeah. I've heard those same rumors because more or less Anthony Joshua and the Deontay Wilder era ended at the same time, more or less. Anthony Joshua was maybe a little bit sooner because of the earlier loss to Andy Ruiz Jr. And the two of them, and I spoke about this on the show a lot of times, and you looked at me like I was crazy. We argued. And I said, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are just sitting there. They're fighting the same old recycled opponents and guys that aren't even really top 10. So, yeah, Anthony Joshua has lost his marketability with a lot of fans, not so much due to that, but due to the fact that it was always highly publicized how much money he was making against these opponents.
Well, that's another thing that surprises me, Coach, is that this can't be just a money grab for Anthony Joshua because he's been very successful in the ring. Rumor has it that he's made well over $150 million, for himself after he pays everybody else since he's been fighting. I mean, I don't know what he's getting paid for this. Have any of you guys heard numbers?
In terms of numbers, I do not know. Most likely, I'm going to guess that Anthony Joshua is going to have one set figure. Since it's not a pay-per-view, obviously, he's not going to get what he usually does, which is a portion of the pay-per-views. And I also think that more or less Eddie Hearn is dictating what Joshua is going to get because I have a feeling this may be a cash-out fight for Joshua, just like it was supposed to be for Gervonta Davis.
That could be, Dave. What do you think about that? Joshua looking at this as a cash out.
Yeah, I'm losing you there a little bit, Billy.
Yeah, I think we are. We're our connection isn't that great
on the sound here.
Yeah, but maybe retry it. But in any event, I'm not sure, Dax, if it's a cash out or not. I don't think that Anthony Joshua gets anything out of this other than cash, because if he beats him, which we all are assuming, what kind of recognition? Who's going to pat him on the back for beating Jake? It's a win-win for Jake Paul, Dax.
Look, I said this years, and yes, it is a win-win for Jake Paul, no matter what. I said years ago, when you were really high on Anthony Joshua, and the big debate was who was actually better, Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder, when both were undefeated. And my question was at that time, and was up until even after the first Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, I reserved it until he faced Usyk. Is Anthony Joshua the UK's Frank Bruno, or he's the UK's Lennox Lewis? And he 100% is the UK's Frank Bruno, except the UK doesn't love him like they love Frank Bruno.
Yeah. That second fight, the second fight that they were in, the Usyk fight with Anthony Joshua, I thought that Joshua could have pulled that one out. I thought he might have won that. Let me try and get Coach Dave back on here. I still have your other. You must have logged into another place because.
It refreshed on me. Yeah, I
not you. I'm talking about Coach Dave. You got to unmute yourself, Dave.
How's that?
There you go. Yeah, that's sounds a little better, and you got a nice. You're in a different room. You're in an orange room now.
Yeah, I'm moving around here.
Yeah. Oh, you've got me in the mood for a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. With the.
Yeah, I figured I'd get you going a little bit, right, Billy?
So, what do you think? This is a cash out for AJ, or do you think what's your thoughts?
Okay, I'll put it to both you guys right now. What's the end game here by AJ fighting Anthony Joshua? Jake Paul. So there's no ranking. There's no anything but monetary fulfillment here. I mean, you're a high level heavyweight that you are being called out by other heavyweights in the division right now, and you're going to take a fight with Jake Paul that has no meaning in the boxing world other than, I don't know if you heard me earlier, it's the wrestling effect. We're going to bring in the special guests to fight this guy, and we're going to sell tickets and be Barnum and Bailey. So I have no interest in this, Billy. I think I give it to Jake Paul for stepping up, but on Anthony Joshua, you're in a tough situation because, this is all win-win for Jake Paul, like I heard you say previously.
Yeah. The bottom line is that this is all really for Jake Paul. The WWE effect, Dax, I personally think that, and what scares me is that I think that this might be the beginning of what boxing is going to become. Because you look at it this way. Look at the numbers, the sets of eyes that are going to be on this fight. These fans, and I was in a conversation on social media today, these fans that keep paying for this and keep buying this and keep, talking about it and everything, this is what they think is normal. And if they accept it and they keep forking over the coin, damn well, both you guys know damn well that boxing will definitely keep giving it to you because all they want is the cash, and that's my biggest fear. What do you think first, Dax?
Well, I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. I think when Harvey Doc was on, that you have to blame the fans. They're the ones that keep watching it. So if the fans are accepting it, then yes, that's what boxing is going to become. On the other hand, in terms of what Coach Dave said, yes, Anthony Joshua is elite, but just like Gervonta Davis, who was going to be the original opponent, and a lot of people have said it, Gervonta isn't hungry anymore. He has the money. He doesn't need the nonsense. He doesn't need the politics. He doesn't need to go and worry about what's next for him. And the same thing for Anthony Joshua. He does not need the money. He has already suffered several embarrassing losses, and he knows that in this fight, even if he wins, comes out there, first round knockout, the very first punch, sets the fastest record for a knockout of any heavyweight title fight in history. It is always going to loom over him the same way that the Conor McGregor fight has loomed over Floyd Mayweather Jr. The only people that are going to not hold it against him are going to be the ones that are the diehard fans, except the UK, Billy, as you state all the time, and the United States fans are different in their mindset. The UK fans will not let AJ live that down.
Well, hey, Coach, do you think that that's the case, that he has lost his interest in the sport and this is a cash out for him? I mean, it could very well be.
It might be, but let me play devil's advocate here. Do we think that he's made enough money in his career already to be comfortable with previous fights? And I agree, he comes out and wins in the first round, it's expected. There's no big deal here. There's no anything as far as what he should be doing. Cash out, I think definitely, at the end of the year, let's put it to you two guys, Dak and Billy. Would you turn away that money in December at the end of a fiscal year if it was presented to you, an opportunity?
No, of course not.
You can't.
No,
You can't blame him for the money. But
No.
What bothers me is, guys like Moses Aituma, who said he thinks he's backing Jake Paul in this fight. He doesn't think he's going to win. He said, and I quote, "The money that gets thrown around, people like that can step in the ring with a two-time heavyweight champion." He's talking about Paul. It's got a bragging power in it. Listen, I don't hate on anybody that's trying to do well. Jake Paul has smashed life, conquered YouTube. Now he's trying to conquer boxing, although I don't think it's going to be as easy as he thinks. Fair play to him. I'm going to be behind him all the way because I like to see a man strive for success. Although I don't want to see him beat Anthony Joshua, I am going to be behind him for this success story. Now, my question is, what's he actually saying? Does he want to fight Anthony Joshua? I think Moses Aituma is trying to take the easiest path. He would have taken the fight against Jake Paul if it was offered.
You know what? And, to answer that question right now, who wouldn't take the fight? Especially a guy like Aituma, who's coming up through the ranks, trying to make a name for himself. It'll be the biggest payday of his career if he took this fight. All eyes of the world of, Jake Paul has Netflix. So even the hardcore boxing people are going to be watching, but even the everyday viewer is also going to be watching. Anybody with Netflix on their platform is going to be able to tune in. So, to your question earlier, Billy, and your statement rather, I really hope this isn't the way of boxing going forward. This is just who's next, okay? So if it's Joshua, if it's Aituma, whoever it is that fights Jake Paul, who's next in line saying, are we going to see Tyson Fury? Are we going to see... I don't know. I get the idea, but I just think for the hardcore boxing people, it's not a good route for the future.
No, it's not. And Dax, you're in the gym with young fighters all the time, and this is one of my big hangups. And Coach and I have talked about this off air before. But these guys work so hard, and they don't get the opportunity. You get somebody that's got money behind him, and I'm going to use Aituma again as an example. He hasn't fought anybody. He's fought one fight that people are wondering how it even happened. And the WBO has already said he's getting a fast track to a world title shot. So is it really fair to these young fighters who don't have the money behind them, and they're trying to work their way up? And then now boxing could be taking this crazy turn that it's like WWE. I mean, like Coach K says in the chat room, he goes, and now Anthony Joshua just hit Jake Paul with a chair. Is that what we're going to see? Is somebody going to come jumping out of the audience and tag team him or something? What's going to happen?
We're going to have an issue in the sport sooner than later. Alexander Usyk has expressed his intentions, and he has hinted at his intentions on retirement. Alexander Usyk, Bill, I've been saying this for 9 years of the however many forevers I've been on this show. And we do know he is legit. He has solidified his place in history, and it cannot be taken away from him. He's done things that no other champion has done before him. He has hinted on talking about Jake Paul in the cage, meaning MMA. Now, so yeah, there you go. There is just a whole nother thing where the direction of the sport can be going, considering Dana White is also now involved with promoting boxing. So yes, this sport is going through a big change, plus all the top heavyweights that we consider, in the top 10, whether or not we want to go to Zhilei Zhang, Joe Joyce, the issue he just had with the dirty test, Daniel Dubois, who knows where his mindset is, Anthony Joshua. I was just researching before, because I thought he had made a little more money than what he has. But remember, for the Ngannou fight, he got $6 million for that fight. He got $6 million for the rematch with Ruiz. He got $25 million for the fight against Klitschko, plus pay-per-view rights. Yes, he has made plenty of money inside the sport. So this whole sport is going to go in all kinds of different directions. I see it. I see this becoming a kind of like the pro-am shows that you see, where you got 4 amateur boxing bouts and then 1 pro MMA bout, or vice versa. And that's the way the sport is going to be. And you know something? The fans are allowing it.
I agree with that. And Coach, that's what Dax just said is pretty disheartening, because for guys like all three of us that, you know, I definitely consider myself a boxing purist. Dax doesn't do anything but watch boxing, and Dave, I know you're the same. You know, it's disheartening to even fathom that, you know, we could be talking about what everyone's going to be labeling as the sport of boxing in 5 years from now, and it's going to be a shell of itself. What we're used to, you know, we've Dax has been involved with this show for quite some time, and we've talked about many times. I wouldn't even be able to put a number on how many times we discussed how we can get boxing back to the way it was, back to the way it was, back to the way it was. It's totally going in a different direction, Dave.
I agree. And now, if this is the way to go, like what Dax is saying, what happens? Nobody wants to see a young and up and coming fighter. These guys don't get shots anymore. So that means if you put your grind in as a young, early ranked fighter, 10, 15, maybe 20 fights, you're going to be overlooked. It's going to be hard for you to crack that top 3 or top 2 because, you know, they're pulling people out like, who's next? What's the next, you know, event? Who's going to sell it out? And once Usyk's gone, to your point, Dak, these other combat sport venues are starting to attract other fighters, meaning boxers. So, you know, you have bare knuckle. They're pulling celebrity athletes, former football players, former boxers. Like, you know, look, I was on a bare knuckle event last year in Philadelphia. Joey Dwanko was on the card. You just had Paulie Malignaggi fight in Europe. So, you know, the lure of money is drawing these guys, and especially, you know, Joshua's made money in his career, like you said, Dax, and he's had great sponsorship with Under Armour and other companies that have paid him well. But what about these guys that are coming up? The lure of the money that they may never see in this sport. I get that part, but from the boxing end, I'm not liking what I see.
But the problem is over promoting. I didn't mean to speak over you, but the problem is over promoting. Either we're not getting promoted enough, meaning fighters on their way up and being brought up the right way, or they're being over promoted. And Floyd Mayweather Jr., that's one thing I have to give him credit for. And he stated it several times. You cannot start your career and think by your 10th fight, your 11th fight, that you're getting paid 10, 20, 30 million dollars. You have to earn this. You have to market yourself. Your promoter has to market yourself. That's when you know that you've arrived and you become a fighter.
Well, here's the problem.
Elite.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Promoters aren't promoting anymore. Managers aren't managing. Fighters aren't getting a chance. Even the ranking system with these sanctioning bodies are a joke. I mean, the same thing. I'm going to mention Ituma again. How does he get a fast track? There's so many other fighters that have been fighting, you know. But and the magic thing to do now is just keep winning. It doesn't matter who you're fighting against. Just win and you'll get in, you know. And that's not right. It's going to deter young fighters from wanting to get involved in this sport. There's nothing. And you guys were both talking about, you know, what's the problem? The main problem is it's very hard for a small promoter, a local promoter, to put on shows where he can make a couple of bucks and pay the fighters and develop young talent that can go from city to city, state to state, whatever, create rivalries and start their climb like that. That's what's missing. There's only a handful of grassroots promoters left because most can't afford to do it. You know, so where are these guys fighting? They're all fighting in, you know, Oshkosh, some country somewhere where they can get the fight that they want. And next thing you know, we're hearing about them when they're 20-0, and now they're over here, and because they got to know, everybody thinks they're great.
Well, you know what, Billy? That's a great point. I'm just going to jump in here real quick, and you kind of beat me to the punch there. And I know you've been around on every aspect of it, from promoting to managing. But yeah, you know, years ago, you know, promotional companies, boxing went city to city. Okay, they brought a prospect up and they drew a fan base. Might have been fighting in New York one week, then you were fighting in Florida, Oklahoma. And I'll give you, you know, and you'll remember this name, Billy Joe Messi was built like that on ESPN. He was taken and brought up as a fighter that, nothing to take away from Joe. Joe was a decent fighter. He wasn't a top-tier fighter, like in some of these heavyweights, but they built him up. He fought some tough fights, and he got a fan base. People wanted to see Joe Messi when he got on HBO. Today, I know the internet and everything else is out there, but there is no building of a fan base of these young fighters that, when they start out early in their careers and they climb the ladders.
Let me tell you, I knew Joe Messi personally. He was a friend of mine. I wrote an article about him when ESPN the Mag first came out, and I'll tell you a quick story. I went and spent 3 days with them up in Buffalo, and I got to know him and his trainer, what they did. He was training out of college, all these things, and we ended up one of the nights. His father, who was his manager, took me to a Buffalo Sabres game, and I'll never forget this. All right, and I went in. We were in a booth. We were in a luxury box, and I'm sitting in there with Joe Messi, right, and one of my favorite football players of all time, Jim Kelly of the Buffalo Bills, is sitting on one side, and Steve Tasker is sitting on the other side.
Yeah.
And all the fans pounded on the door to get autographs, wanted it from Joe Messi. And I was shocked that they weren't looking for, so you're 100% correct. And it wasn't just city to city, state to state. When boxing was in its heyday in the 40s and the 50s, it was town against town. You'd have a kid that was fighting out of one town would go over across the railroad tracks and fight somebody else, and they'd sell it out with those smokers. That was when boxing was where it's at. Unfortunately, it's taken a different turn, fellas.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, and I have, again, that's something else that we argued about on this show before.
You're making it sound like all we did was argue on this show. Come on.
No, is that we needed some sort of UFC style setup, except the fighters need to be paid better than what the UFC fighters get paid, because we know what Dana White has done to all his top stars.
Yeah,
that's why they need so many sponsors.
But
then came the WBSS.
Yeah,
World
but
Boxing Super
hold on
Series.
a minute. Hold on. I just want to interrupt you for 1 second, because a lot of people forget this part about the UFC. The UFC, yes, they pay their guys based on their experience, how many rounds, blah, 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 how many rounds of experience. But the other thing that never gets mentioned is that they also get a piece of all the merchandising. They get a piece of the pay-per-view. It's a franchise. So these guys are getting that kind of revenue streams. I don't know what the numbers are, but they get that, something they do not get in boxing unless they get part of the pay-per-view deals.
The UFC fighters don't all get paid like that. That's why they have so many sponsors. That's why those big banners are behind there. Ask all the top names. Ask George St. Pierre. You can go to Matt Hughes. There's a ton of guys who can tell you, the guys that actually built that company, that will tell you exactly how much money that they didn't get. Guys that still to this day, because of their performances in the ring, still are part of that merchandising that you express.
That they still get a piece, even though they're not fighting anymore?
No, they don't get nothing out of it. But because they built that company. Now, as far as what Coach Dave said, in terms of building and promoting and guys going around, I remember back in 1997 getting a phone call in the middle of the day at a gym in Schenectady from Cedric Kirshner. He had a fight card that he was putting on at what was then the Pepsi Arena. He had some guys that he was putting on, that he was trying to build up. He didn't think there was going to be a large crowd, and there were some guys that at one point in time were top-tier fighters, yet he needed them to be on the undercard to hopefully attract more names. Now, on that card, you had Joe Messi was on that card. I think Joe maybe had 2 or 3 fights at the time. Robert Daniels, former cruiserweight champion. Hasim Rahman fought Tui Tua. Tui Tua came and took that fight because he needed money to buy Christmas gifts for his kids. So he took that money, and took that beating from Hasim Rahman. It was only like one punch, believe me. And then you had Gerald Nobles, who fought, I think it was Gregory Pickham, and there was almost nobody in there. You could probably count how many people were in there on two hands. But you know what? Those guys went out there and did their job and did what they had to do, and Cedric Kushner took care of them. It was in the middle of the winter. It was not a fight night, but these guys went out there and they learned their craft and they helped build themselves. And that's what we need from promoters. That's what we don't have. The UFC part is it's mandatory that you have to fight guys of a certain level. There's no picking. There's no choosing. There's no clauses. And the WBSS, the great part about that is every sanctioning body agreed to allow their titles to be put up there. Doesn't matter who was the mandatory. If you were a champion and you were in that tournament, that title stayed inside that tournament until it was over. And then number one would have to deal with the champion after that tournament was over. And look what it unified. We brought Alexander Usyk. We brought Naoya Inoue. We can go on and on and on at all the guys that came out of that tournament. Even if they didn't win, they came out of there as top names. That's the setup we need in boxing.
No, there's no doubt. We definitely need something.
Can I throw one thing in here, Billy, with just to add to one thing with Dak? And I think he had a great idea with what he's talking about in the UFC. One thing I like what the UFC does is they have the Contenders series. Now that's televised on Tuesday nights, usually through the summer. They give you an opportunity. Now, you don't get to pick who you're going to fight. They call you up. They say, hey, Dak, you're going to fight Billy. That's it. It's next Tuesday. You in, you out, right? We need something like that in boxing. We need something like that in boxing, in my opinion, right? It'll show people off. Right.
We had it. Remember, it was called Boxino. ESPN did it.
We had a lot of different things like that, but we're losing that now.
Oh yeah, nobody wants to fight anybody though, Dave.
I agree.
That's the
but
thing.
You know what? There's guys with under 10 wins. Look,
the original Contender series.
I agree.
Talk about that. The Contender series with Stallone and Sugar Ray. Remember, we got some champions out of there and some really popular guys. The Latin Snake is still one of the most popular guys in the sport.
Yeah,
we got, and then nothing for nothing. We just had the WBC Grand Prix tournament, which is going to finish up. Right. I was fortunate to have a fighter in there. Look, you fought. You went into the tournament. There was the criteria. You fought. You won. You kept going. You won. You kept going. You won. You kept going. No press on that in the States. A little bit. Hardcore boxing people know about it, but really no press. And a lot of those guys, a lot of international guys, we didn't have too many USA guys in there. Fortunately, we had Amon Lee, who I work with, who went to the quarterfinals. But, you're fighting. He fought 3 highly ranked fighters in the world. And, that's the quality of boxing that we need. Stuff like that, to see fighters that are not only in the United States, but we're global now. So a lot of great talent.
There's a great example of a good fight that's happening this weekend that I'm going to break down a little bit later, where it has 2 guys on the up and up, and that's the Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason fight that's on the undercard. Now, those are 2 guys that are, both kind of ranked in the top 10, top 12. I know they're higher in certain sanctioning bodies, but legit rankings, and they're fighting each other. And that's what we need, more of that. We need.
I like that. I like that fight.
Yeah, no, I love the fight. I actually like all the fights on that card. I think they're all going to be good. But anyway, hey, listen, fellas, I gotta go. I got Discombobulating Jones ready to come on here in a couple minutes, but we're going to be talking a lot more about this fight, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks. I just don't know if my opinion's going to change. I mean, real quick, Dax, what would have to change for you to look at this fight more as a legit fight than a circus?
What would have to change is right now there's no way to change that due to everything that has led up to this. But what would really change is if after this fight, win, lose, or draw, Jake Paul follows through with the promises that you hear him say on DAZN promos all the time, that he is not going to stop until he becomes a world champion. And then there's some sort of comment where I have myself a little bit of sprint here. I think, if he does do that, and all these other previous ones have just been his way of getting more or less used to the environment, then you know what? That is going to change boxing as a whole, because that means, just like in the old days where you fought whoever was either on their way down or guys who were not that good to get that experience, and you got better as you went up the ladder. If Jake Paul does that, then you know what? I think boxing may actually just go the opposite way from what we're thinking and become better.
What's your thoughts? What would have to change, Coach?
I like what Dak said, but I would go like this. Look, I want to see a sanctioning body come in and put a mandatory in front of Jake Paul, and not him cherry pick an opponent or get in with his promotional company waving money around for a payday. And then I want to see him fight some hungry fighters that are going to go in there and look to knock him off. And I think that will give not only some of the fans credibility, but we'll be able to see of how vested is he in this sport when it's a little bit out of his control. And he's got to fight who they put in front of him.
Yep. Guys, I appreciate it, and we'll revisit this next week. All right.
All right. Talk
guys.
to you then. Have a
All
good
right,
one.
man. Take
Have
her
a
easy.
great night, guys. Bye.
You too.
You know what Coach was just saying, was interesting only because the truth of the matter is that Jake Paul is ranked by the WBA, and this is what I was saying at the beginning of the show, that Jake Paul is saying, "Oh, I want a world title shot. I want a world title shot." But the truth of the matter is that he could be a opponent for somebody that has a WBA light heavyweight, cruiserweight, or I guess even now heavyweight title. I mean, geez, the WBA has interim belts, the regular champion belt, the super champion belt. I mean, they have more belts than J.C. Penney has. I mean, it's pretty crazy, to be honest with you. But the bottom line is Jake Paul is, in my opinion, is really stepping up here, challenging Anthony Joshua, because that's what I look at it as, a challenge. Coach, he is ranked. The WBA has him ranked at like number 12, I think. Either that or number 11, something. He's in their top 12 rankings. They ranked him after, I believe it or not, I think it was after the Tyson fight. But the truth of the matter is I got to give Jake Paul credit for fighting Anthony Joshua. The truth of the matter is that if Anthony Joshua can, do anything, he should knock him out. But I got my man Henry. But Henry, if you can hear me, I don't have a video of you. So check your camera, make sure your camera's connected or whatever, and we'll get you on as soon as I see your happy face. Give a shout out to everybody in the chat room right now. Yeah, Coach, he's ranked number 14. Okay, I knew it was one above the last one. My man James is saying there are way too many belts. Need to make some suspenders now. I know. Well, that's the problem. And Coach Dave said before, if a sanctioning body got involved or, we had a belt on the line. No. You see, this is why I think that, right. And Dax is saying regular, interim, WBA Bridgerweight, champion in recess, champion of Muay Thai. Don't forget that one. it's a joke. The problem is we have too many belts. That's the problem. In any event, maybe let me try my man Discombobulating Jones right now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. I don't have a video of you, so if
I
you
don't know
have,
why.
all
I'm
right.
troubleshooting it now, but I
All
don't see why it's not coming up.
all right. Well,
Fine.
I tell you what, I will let's just roll with you right now. So, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, please welcome my man, ring announcer Henry Discombobulating Jones. How you doing, brother?
Man, I appreciate you, Billy C. And my face is made for radio anyway, so this is perfect.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, if I would have known this, I would have made a face for you. Right. I mean,
I appreciate it, man.
but
Thank you. How
but
you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. And
It's been years.
but before we get started, all right.
Yeah.
With me asking some questions. I know that we spoke on the phone not too long ago, and we talked about Jake Paul, and at the time he was fighting Tank Davis, and you were like, Billy, you're going to get mad at me because I know you're a boxing purist, but you thought it was okay, and Tank obviously got into some trouble. What I'm looking for, is it true? Did he get into the trouble? Because I'm starting to hear second opinions now.
Well, two things can be true, as you know. He did get in trouble, but at the same time, they, meaning MVP, Jake Paul's promotion, wanted it to be scripted, and Tank wasn't going for that. He said, no, it's going to be a real fight, or it's not going to be a fight at all. He said he doesn't do exhibitions.
That's my fear. That's
Yeah.
my fear with the Anthony Joshua, what you just said right now. And I saw a statement from Tank Davis that said that he didn't want to do scripted. Then I saw some AI video of Jake Paul crying over it. And, it wasn't even Jake Paul. Like,
Right.
the steroids made his head twice the size. But that's my fear. That he's pushing for a scripted fight, and I would hate Anthony Joshua to do that. Dak said earlier that the UK boxing fans, they wouldn't tolerate that.
Yeah, but truth be known, Billy C, where else is Anthony Joshua gonna get 50 to 100 million to do this? Nowhere.
I know. I heard that he's getting 20.
20? Really?
But
that's less than what Tank was gonna get.
Yeah, no, I know.
Wow.
But
I tell you, he's hurting. Then he's desperate.
How could he be hurting? We were just figuring that he made well over 100 million in the ring so far.
How much did he keep?
Oh, you never know that. You never know.
But
similar to what we discussed about Tank being fed up with the business and using a cash out, that could very well be Anthony Joshua's mindset.
Very well could be. That's true.
Yeah.
You don't play boxing, man. And I'm of the mindset that fighters should get what they can while they can and keep most of their brain cells intact if they can. Because we've seen too many guys after the fact, their career's over with, they're through. They're walking around, with less than the full faculties. They can't get a job because they were ill prepared to get into any other line of work. And of course, our beloved sport does not have pension plans and health benefits like other sports. So it's a tough business, man. Get what you can while you can. Period.
And that's the main reason it's taken this turn, and it's always been an entertainment, but it seems to be taking a turn to more scripted WWE type stuff. I'm just sad that it's come to this, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we have to do more. Collectively, we got to demand the fights that the public wants to see. Get these guys paid. I make the analogy with the WNBA. They're about to get paid, man, and well deserved. The minimum salary is going to be a $500,000. That's beautiful. They deserve it. Why not?
Yeah.
So
Hey,
we need to do the same thing.
before I start asking you my questions, I got my man Coach K in the chat room. He's always on point. Okay, so he's got a question for you. All right.
Hmm.
First of all, Dax just said rumor has it that Anthony Joshua's making $92 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
But anyway, he says, ask Henry, is it true that when he first began his career, he spent his early years working for free?
Mm.
And did discombobulating come after your sister brought him a thesaurus?
Wow. Somebody knows my history.
No,
Coach K is on point.
he's got you, boy. He's
My goodness.
got you, bro. Does he really?
He went back 37 and a half years, man.
There you go.
Oh,
That's
my
good.
God. And actually, he went back close to 50 years with the story, because I was watching a fight on TV my senior year of high school, and my sister had bought me a thesaurus, and I heard a distinctive nasal tone, dulcet tone gentleman say, "Never in my unprecedented ring experience have I ever seen a fighter so utterly discombobulated." It wasn't in a dictionary, but it was in that thesaurus. To knock out, render senseless, completely upset the composure of. And of course, it was the one and only late great Howard Cosell commentating the fight. And so when I became a ring announcer in 1988, 37 years ago now, I said, I got to come up with something to get the sports writers and the media attention. And I had been through a lot of things in my life personally that could have discombobulated me. So I started calling myself Discombobulating, ING, so I could be the one doing the positive knocking out of my adversaries and adversities in life. And that's the story.
That's great.
Wow, Coach K.
I can always tell he's a lot of times I'll be
awesome.
doing a show and he'll bail me out on something. I'll have a brain lapse. I won't remember a name, and Coach is right there. But what does your preparation like before a fight? I mean,
yeah.
I know I've been at events with you.
We have.
And, I know that you do research on the fighters and everything. And I know you do something that I could never do, and that's actually learning how to pronounce the names correctly. What's your whole preparation?
Wow. A loaded question here. Okay. So, you're right. I prepare intensely, maybe overly so, but it's better to know more than you need to know than not need something to know. You understand? So I go to the weigh-ins. First of all, I research them online. I go to the weigh-in and talk to them, find out how they pronounce their names, because that's most important.
Yep.
I tell you a quick story that still traumatized me to this day, but motivates me at the same time. I took Spanish in high school 3 straight years, got straight A's every year, but that was just translating words. It really wasn't speaking it. So my first fight at the old convention center in D.C. back in 1988, I was so nervous, and it was Hispanic fighter fighting. And I said, introducing Jesus Maldonado. Oh, the boos cascaded down. He ran from the corner into the center of the ring where I was, cursing me out in Spanish. I knew some of the words, right? And I said, oh, I know I wasn't supposed to say that. It's Jesus, of course. But I was nervous, And so Michael Buffer became my mentor a couple of years later. And he told me, he said, listen, he said, prepare for each fight like it's the most important thing, because it is to them. It could be their last one. You never know.
That's right.
To every fighter, no matter if they're undefeated or winless, giving them the same respect. And so over the years, promoters have told me I've been responsible for some upsets because the B side has one after my introductions because they got so motivated.
Hey, that's good. Maybe that. Hey, here's another tidbit that Coach just said, and you just did a great segue. Maybe that is why Mark Too Sharp Johnson demanded that his contract had you involved as the announcer in
my
1998.
God.
This guy's killing me. Coach is finding out all this stuff.
Coach,
hey, listen, to be honest with you, hey, listen, Henry, I'm just going to hang up with you. I'm just going to ask Coach all of the stuff I was going to ask you.
Where did he get these cliff notes from, man?
God.
He comes
up with some stuff, man.
Nah, he was an A straight student in school as well, because that's research there. That's deep research. He went a deep dive on that, and that's correct. It was an ESPN fight. February 22nd, 1998, 10 years after I started. And, let's just be perfectly transparent about it. ESPN did not want me to announce it. They were going to bring in their own ring announcer, Caucasian, let's call it like it is. And Mark and his father, Ham, demanded that I be the ring announcer and actually hand wrote me in the contract, And so at the weigh-in, the producer said, we got everything straight, Mark. And Mark said, well, wait a minute. This is going to be my ring announcer for tomorrow. He said, no, we already got that. And Mark said, no, you signed off on the contract, and had a copy of it where he had handwritten it in. So it was a sleight of hand move, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And Cedric Kushner was the promoter of record, and he loved it afterwards. He came up to me, he said, this was fantastic. May he rest in peace. This was fantastic. I said, yeah, Mark is certainly a talent. He said, he is, but I'm talking about you too. You had the crowd involved. That's what I like, the energy. He said, you want to go on the road with us? I said, what's a trick question or something? He said, we're going up to Atlantic City in September. So we went up to Atlantic City, and I announced Ike Ibeabuchi. How about that for a name from the past?
There you go.
The president.
He's trying to make a comeback, or he did fight a fight.
He did, and he won by knockout, but they said it wasn't nothing to write home about. He was supposed to win, and really was supposed to win early, and then he did.
What was your most memorable fight or event that you had to announce, and why?
And Coach K doesn't know this?
Well, he's already got another one. He's saying, well, okay, is it really true that he has a photographic memory? And I know that is true. Yeah. I know that myself, so I wasn't even going to ask you that one,
Well, so. I still can take snapshots. I don't know about if it's perfectly photographic like it used to be. I mean, I'll be 70 years old in a couple of months, so I don't know about all of that. But it's still a good picture. All right, answer your question. It was July 10th, 1996, Madison Square Garden, the Garden. Definitely the most, let's just call it like it is, the worst riot in boxing history. Who were the combatants?
You were at that fight, Riddick Bowe and the Polish guy, right?
That's right, Andrew Galata. I did the undercard for Buffer, and we kind of knew something was going to happen early in the night because those two demographics, Polish fans and black fans were in each other's face. It was good spirited at first, and then when the low blows and all that happened in the ring, man, it was bedlam throughout.
Well, Rock Newman didn't help matters any by attacking with the phone. Remember,
he was the catalyst.
I know, and didn't he hit Lou Duva in the head?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't. It was what's his name? It was one of the bodyguards did, and he got banned for life.
Oh, because I remember the video showed Rock Newman with he had one of those newfangled flip phones or something.
He did, but he didn't hit Duva.
He was throwing it. He jumped in that ring. He looked like
He
a wrestler.
He did.
Like,
Matter of fact, he stepped over Bo. That was the first thing, and went to go towards Galata. And Galata was about to retaliate, and then Rock Newman's goons came to his rescue, as they always did. Because if you remember the Fan Man and all of those, situations.
Yeah. See, that's when there was sideshows to boxing. Fan Man, the Evander Holyfield fight that he lands in the ring. He misjudged it a little bit,
Oh,
and then there was the fight you and I were talking about up at Turning Stone, and I believe that was the last time I saw you. We were both shocked that. And then you kind of surprised me with the story of little Napoleon there, who I actually just saw the other day. But
my goodness!
But I'll never forget the same guy that gave you a hard time wouldn't allow that heavyweight fight. And I knew that there was a discrepancy of weight, but a heavyweight is 200 pounds and above. This guy weighed 201 or something.
Yes, he did. I remember that.
I know he was soaking wet and had a pocket full of quarters, but he weighed over 200, and the other guy was like 240, and they wouldn't let it happen. Remember that?
Right. He was playing matchmaker and should not have been allowed to do that. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Well, he didn't like you giving him the look, right?
Well, what happened was it was maybe the second bout of the night, and as I always do, I stand behind the scorekeeper, because sometimes these guys' writing is not too legible, and I don't want to get up there and be marble mouth or say the wrong thing. Thank God I've never done that and called the wrong fighter the winner, like I've seen some other ring announcers do. So I always stand behind the person. I read the scorecard and make sure, that's correct. So I'm standing behind this guy. He turns around and looks at me. And Billy, I kid you not, he looked at what I was wearing, and then he looked down at himself, what he was wearing, and then he got up and tried to push me and said, get back. And I said, you ever he touched me in my chest. And I said, you ever put your hand on me again, I give the longest count in history.
Henry, you would have laughed. Let's not mention his name, but I'm going to describe what he was wearing at the last fight I saw him. Right. So you're saying good. And for anybody that's never seen Discombobulating Jones in the ring, he's a snappy dresser. All right.
I appreciate it.
He dress. Right.
Thank you.
And so this guy, I said, hey, how you doing, so and so. And he's sitting there looking like he should go and grab a tennis racket. He had the sweater with the arms tied around his neck, and it looked like it was like, are you in the right place, bro? It was just so funny.
Wow.
And I was thinking about that night after you and I talked, and I saw him like that, and I'm going, oh man, but he's still involved with the sport.
Low self-esteem guy, man, and I pray for people like that, You
have to.
I don't stay mad. I don't stay bitter. My mother taught me to be better. So I've actually forgiven, people, Rock Newman, Don King, guys that I thought would have kept their word to help me and chose not to, So I had to go back to these people and forgive them. I tell you, the only person, African-American promoter of note, at that level that could have helped me, did not, but apologized to me, was the late Butch Lewis. He had a fight card at the Apollo one night. I couldn't get in contact with him. He called me about a month later. I said, what was wrong in that picture, Butch? He said, nothing, man. We had standing room only. I said, yeah, but come on, man. For the most iconic venue on the planet for black entertainment, you had a white ring announcer. He said, wow, I didn't even think about that. I said, obviously not. He said, well, Jones, you got them all from now on. We're doing a quarterly series. You got all of them. My apologies, man. It should have been you. You're right. And then he died. I said, Lord, you must have something greater for me in mind.
He died too young, and the only thing that I remember about Butch Lewis was Michael Spinks. I mean, that was really it,
Right. The tuxedo with no shirt on.
Yeah, no, I mean that was that was his shtick, you know.
That was
Hey,
his
I'm
shtick.
gonna mention a name.
Okay.
You talk about black promoters, and this guy was, he wasn't well known outside of like the club shows and everything. And I knew him pretty well. I got along with him great. He was a great guy, and I went to several of his fights. I'm just wondering if you ever did any ring announcing for Doug Pendarvis.
I remember that name, but I
He
can't
called
place
himself.
him.
He was the self-proclaimed godfather of boxing, and he dressed snazzy too. He was a pinstripe suit guy with,
Remember that name. Where
uh,
was he
yeah,
based out of, Billy?
Doug was based out of Massachusetts area, New England area.
That's right,
Um,
Pendarvis boxing. We had conversations, but I never did announce for him. You're right.
yeah, no, he was a character. It's something that we're missing in the sport of boxing today. To be honest with you, Henry, we don't have those guys, the Butch Lewises, on a bigger
No,
note, and then the smaller venues like the Doug. We just don't.
no.
What do you think is the biggest challenge the sport of boxing is facing today, from your perspective? Going like we're jumping back and forth. We started
Yeah.
talking about AJ and Jake Paul, and we went back to some fantastic times and fights.
hmm
And now we're faced with this. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge?
Well, I think those things were the segue for me answering that question. And it's about the business of boxing now. It's not the love for the sport anymore. People don't have the passion for it. It's a tough sport. And, most guys don't make a lot of money in this sport. And you don't play boxing and, don't have the health benefits, the pension plans, none of that. And they go into other sports where they can make more money, and especially UFC. Um, they don't care about the win-loss records. They care about fights. In our boxing business, man, we dote on that. Oh, keeping
We do.
undefeated.
We
So
do here in the States, but
yes,
they
we
don't
do.
in England.
Well, yeah. I'm only referencing the States because I never announced over there. Even though I did announce in China one time for Manny Pacquiao promotion, and I digress, but I didn't see a dog or a cat the entire week we were there. Go figure.
you know, you know what they say, but that's funny. But
But that's the
anyway,
reason, Billy. We don't treat this sport with the respect that it deserves, and so our athletes go to other sports, and you can't blame them, really.
I've said a million times that if boxing was the way it was, and I'm talking 80s and before,
Yeah.
really, I would love it the
Oh,
way
that's
it was
payday there.
in
Woo!
the 40s. I mean, if boxing was like it
Okay.
was in the 40s, as far as mainstream media, today we could have the best fighters ever because of the advances in nutritional,
Mhm.
education that we have, training techniques,
Mhm.
physical. We're bigger physically, but because the mental is so much weaker, that we don't have the strength mentally anymore. And people are looking at things the way you just said. What are you going to do afterwards, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Who is your favorite fighter, favorite boxer, whether he be somebody fighting now or past, and why?
No, that's easy. Roy Jones Jr.
You're a Joint Jones, huh?
Man, first 10 years he was untouchable. And I think even more so than that is I had a brother, man, that got his brains blown out back in 88. And so I'm grieving and everything and self-medicating, all that good stuff, right? Thank God, been delivered. And I was looking at the Olympics and Roy got robbed. He put a towel over his face, started crying. I started crying with him. I'm the only one in the house looking at TV, and I'm crying with this guy. Didn't know him, but I'm looking at it, and I was like, wow, how could you rob this guy? It was so clearly cut that he won, and his talent is undeniable. And so I think, you know, I was living through him vicariously because my brother had, just transitioned. So over the years, Roy and I became tight. and to this day we still tight. And matter of fact, I guess I didn't sign an NDA or anything. So we're going over to Saudi Arabia in March, and there's a private equity investment group who has $7 billion to put into sports, and they're trying to compete with the NFL for football, and to try to kind of revolutionize the pay for boxing. And so we're going over there in March, and Roy Jones is heading up the boxing part of it. So I'll be announcing those fights. So
Oh,
here
that's
it is.
great.
Here it is, full circle.
Yeah, no, that's
Full
great.
circle.
That's the kind of stuff that I love to be involved with. That kind of
Well,
stuff.
I'm definitely going to throw your name out there.
Hey, well, that's
You
great.
know I will.
Speaking of Roy, did you and you probably know this, but you did see that they gave the medal back to him, right?
I did see that.
That was pretty cool. They walked into his
Yes.
gym in Florida.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool. That the guy who got the medal, his son translated for him. I saw the whole thing. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It was touching, it kind of heals a hurt, but man, boy, that he had to live with that for so many years, man.
I know.
But at the same time, when I was looking at her TV, I said, wow, this is gonna motivate this guy to be great. That's exactly what I said. And I told Roy this story too. I said, man, in that moment, I knew you're gonna be like Hagler and not leave it up to the judges anymore.
No, you can't. Hey, listen, I was ringside for a Roy Jones Jr. fight, and I know you're not fond of Don King, but I had a real good experience with Don. And what happened was it was when Roy Jones was fighting at Madison Square Garden I believe it was February, and he was fighting what's his name, the Puerto Rican champion there.
Bell?
No. This is when I need Coach to help me. Who's the famous? Who's the one everybody loved in Puerto Rico? Not Camacho.
Oh, Trinidad.
Yeah, Felix Tito Trinidad. Okay, I apologize, Tito. I could, but anyway, I had Don come on my show, and we had a great interview, and we were promoting that fight. And I said, "Hey, Don, I'm gonna be ringside." He said, "Oh, I'll take care of you, right?" So I figured, yeah, sure, right? Well, I get to Madison Square Garden, and this is when I first met Carl King, who he and I eventually called many fights together, televised fights, and I became pretty tight with Carl. But anyway, I go and my name's on the credential, and they're telling me, oh yeah, the press is up there in section 3 something, which is way in the nosebleeds. And, so I was like, oh geez, so I'm asking, where do I sit, blah blah blah, and the guy looks, he says, oh wait a minute, your name has this yellow marker through it. You got to come with me. I'm telling you, man, Don King sat me ringside. I was 3 seats away from him. Okay, and that's where I sat and watched Roy Jones beat Tito Trinidad at Madison Square Garden, and I'll never forget him for that. I mean, I know he's been bad to other people, but I have to go by how he treated me, and I'll never.
That's right. That's right. That's all you should go by.
Yeah,
and to his credit, let me say this. Give full disclosure. I found out. He promised Jimmy Lennon Sr. that he would only use the son for his fights. And he kept his word until it came to a point he couldn't keep his word. And Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis fought, and it was Buffer introducing one and Lennon introducing the other.
That's right. I
said,
remember that.
Look at this.
I remember. Well, Lennon signed a deal with Showtime. So
right.
And that was.
But he was Don King's ring announcer.
No, I know, because
for all this fight cards.
Well, Lennox had to deal with HBO,
and that was Buffer's gig, his contract.
Well, now now Buffer, he just comes in for the main event and gets all his money. I'll never forget meeting him. I was at a fight in Denmark, and we all were in the same limo, the transportation limo, and I was amazed. Did you ever meet his wife?
Which one?
Well, the recent one, who's like 40 years younger than
I
him.
met them all, man.
You know,
he's my mentor, right?
Like, damn, Michael, I mean, because at first, I didn't even recognize him because, when you hose off all that makeup, he doesn't look at it. But, he's 80 years old now. So,
yeah, he has a birthday this month. I wished him happy birthday. He's my mentor, right?
No, I know. That you had just said that before. No, listen, he's one of the best. To me, the two guys that stand out in boxing that, I liked their coined phrases was him, of course, who was ahead of the – and then not an announcer, but Mills Lane, the referee. And everybody's tried to copy both of those guys ever since.
Let's get it on.
Yeah, well, he said that just because that's what he said. He wasn't trying to coin the phrase. Then,
no, he wasn't.
I'm fair, but I'm firm, this and that, all this other stuff. Hey, when are we going to see you again doing your ring announcing?
Let's see. December 6th from Bally's in Atlantic City. Do you know the fighter Thomas Cornflake Lamana?
Yeah, Thomas Lamana. Yeah.
Yeah. So he and I had been tight for years. And so he's bringing me in to announce his farewell fight card December 6th at Bally's. And it's going to be on something called millions.com.
Yes.
Sure
is that Floyd's? Is that Floyd's? Is he part of that?
I don't know.
Streaming. And that's not the promoter from New York, Boxing Insider, doing that show, is it?
Not that I know of.
Because I know my man Larry Hazard cut a deal with him. They've been doing a lot of shows in Atlantic City now.
I'm not sure. Well, I'll tell you who called me the other day to do my application was Ron Katz. You know Ron Katz.
Yeah.
Ron.
Yeah.
So Ron's involved with that. So whoever he's connected with, that's who's doing it.
Hey, listen. Us old guys got to stick together because there's some new waves coming in. I don't like what I'm seeing. I need to put my swimmies on.
Well, no. So I could ask Ron Katz about the telecast for Millions if you want me to.
No. I was just wondering. I know that he just did one of his fighters was on a show that was done in Connecticut. I believe it was Foxwoods. And they streamed it, and he did it. And for some reason, I thought it might have been Millions. But now your new best friend is in the chat room saying, "Hey, Bill, you got to have Henry back on the show soon." Now he's booking my guests too.
Okay, that's my man.
He's here.
Thank you, brother.
He's got all your questions.
I got a million other stories, so please bring me back.
Oh, we're definitely going to bring you back.
This last thing is couple of Fridays ago, I filmed a movie in Baltimore, a boxing themed movie called They Fight. And the A-list actor is a guy named Wendell Pierce from The Wire. If you remember that TV series of HBO, The Wire, he played Detective Bunk. He always had a cigar in his mouth. And he's gone on to do a whole lot of other things, but that's his signature, character. So anyway, that movie will be out after the first of the year. It's called They Fight, and they actually reached out to me to come in and play the part of the ring announcer.
Hey, you did that one good. Hey, I'm going to send you. I got to send you a copy. I got to send you a copy of my book because anybody that's done a boxing movie should read this book. I've been trying to get it on the screen since it came out.
Seriously.
And it's been real close. We had several production companies in England that wanted to do it. I wrote a book about Tom Molyneux of the freed slave.
I read about him. Wow.
Yeah, well, I wrote a book on him. Listen, email me your address. I'll send you a copy.
All right. Okay.
I even had the great Mike Silver tell me how much he loved it. And Mike's got a new book out now. It's actually sitting right here. When in doubt, stop the bout. And he's got some interesting ideas. Some things boxing purists won't like, but
Okay.
all about the safety. But anyway, Henry, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, man. Coach K.
And Coach K. Hey, Coach K, thanks for having Henry on.
Hey, thank you.
but I'll get with you. I have we got some slots after the first of the year, so
That'd be
I'll give you
perfect.
some dates, and then you pick it out. We'll have you back on, and we'll continue this, and hopefully Coach can come up with some new questions since he exposed your whole youth and everything
Yeah,
else.
he did.
You know,
Wow.
and then work on your damn camera. I don't care what you say. We want to see
I
you.
know. Nah, this
know?
was the phone. It was the phone. I got to get on the computer next
Yeah,
time.
yeah. But anyway, brother, it was great
Thank
chatting.
you.
And email me your address, and we'll
Okay.
get you. I'll get you some. I'll reply with some dates. You pick them out. And we'll go from there.
Sounds great, Billy C.
All
God
right.
bless you, man. Be safe out there, brother.
Hey,
Appreciate
you too.
you.
Gotta be safe. It's a tough world out there.
Yes, it is.
All right,
Okay.
man.
All
Be
right.
good. All right.
Peace.
Ciao. That's my man, Henry Discombobulating Jones. What a great interview, huh? And thanks, and we got to thank Coach. Thanks, Coach, for all the questions. We appreciate that. But in any event, some other quick news. We were talking about it in the chat room. I was going back and forth. But after the fight, when Virgil Ortiz won, him and Jaron Boots-Ennis basically agreed to a deal. But then, let me read you some quotes. Eddie Hearn said, "We sat in a room, the zone senior management, Oscar De La Hoya, and we agreed to terms for the fight. Boots signed the terms. They signed the papers. And if those terms have to change, we'll discuss it, but they haven't been forthcoming. They said that if they won on Saturday, they would get the fight made." And then, he was asked what would prevent the deal, and Eddie Hearn said delusion. People are not really wanting the fight. I mean, you've seen them come out saying, we're the A side. Who cares who the A side's or B side? Virgil's never won a major title. Ennis has a world title. Virgil's a great fighter. Boots is a great fighter. Let's make the fight. Well, Oscar said, I'm going to sit down with Eddie Hearn. We obviously have the upper hand here because Ortiz is the better man, and we'll see if we can come to terms, which I'm sure we can. Hopefully Eddie Hearn calls us and we can make favorable terms. That, boys and girls, is why boxing has so much trouble, because fighters get greedy. They want to be the A side. The promoters get greedy. They want to be the A side, and then it stops it. Jaron Ennis has made it clear that his next fight he wants is against Virgil Ortiz. Personally, I think it's a fight that has to be made. It's two fighters that are in their prime. Let's see them fight. I don't think I'm not convinced with Boots-Ennis yet. So I think Virgil Ortiz has improved, but I do think it's a 50-50 fight, and nobody has the upper hand. Speaking of upper hand, did you hear that Joseph Parker failed the post-fight drug test after his fight with Fabio Wardley? And he didn't test positive for any steroids, tested positive for cocaine. He denies it, so we'll see what happens. I got an email from my man, Alex Thompson. He says, doesn't it suck? He said, it's been he says, I hate to beat the zone thing into the ground, but here's an article about the zone's financial status. I'm sure you're aware of this. I don't even know how they lasted this long. They've been literally losing billions of dollars. He says, doesn't it suck that we have to talk about the business of boxing these days just as much as we talk about the fights, maybe ever more so. I do wonder if the zone has contracts with Golden Boy Match Room, Frank Warren, etc. They seem to pull everything off. Yes, they do have contracts with those promotional companies. That's a fact. Queensberry Promotions went public with theirs. I know that Eddie Hearn had his long before that, and I'm not so sure about Oscar De La Hoya, but I would imagine. The article that Alex is talking about, was an article that was put out in October of this year, and DAZN was claiming to have lost $936 million in 2004. That they were down a total of $1.4 billion. The thing is that this group that owns this, the CEO is Shea Sergey. They own a lot of stuff, and like I had responded back to Alex, they could be asking for a loss, but I don't see, just because sometimes businesses got to show a loss. I can't see how they're losing money. A lot of the production isn't even picked up by them. They basically have promoters paying for production costs, and they just put it on the streaming. So I'm not sure, but we'll see. Maybe by jacking up the price, $45. But hey, listen, we got some great fights this weekend, and this card, I'm going to be breaking down 4 of the fights right now. The first one, and I'm breaking them down in the order in which I want to see them, to be honest with you. The first one is the Devin Haney going up against Brian Norman Jr. Now, I do have Devin Haney ranked on my Billy C rankings in the welterweight division. I'm not crazy about Devin Haney, so I'm going to start off by saying that, okay? But Devin Haney's got a record of 32 wins, no losses, no draws, 1 no contest against Ryan Garcia. 15 of his wins coming by way of knockout. He's ranked number 1 in the world by the computer. The WBO has him ranked at number 1. He's not rated in the WBC, the IBF, the WBA. The Billy C rankings have him at number 7. He's not rated in the Ring magazine, and ESPN has him rated at number 3. This is all for welterweight. He's 27 years old. He's stepping in the ring with Brian Norman Jr. He's actually 3 years older. He's fought 4 times in 2 years. He's got 33 professional fights, which is three fights more than Norman. He's got 134 more rounds than Brian Norman Jr. at 234. He's got an under 50% knockout ratio. He's 5'9", 71 inch reach. He's about the same. You can argue that his last 10 fights over the past 6 years, he's fought the best. When you look at some of these guys he's fought and won, Alfredo Santiago, Yuriorkis Gamboa, Jorge Linares, Jojo Diaz, George Kambosos Jr. twice, Vasily Lomachenko, even though I don't think he won that fight, Regis Progress, and, of course, the Ryan Garcia fight, which I thought was a travesty that they even made a big deal of that. But in any event, he's, in my opinion, he's a very skilled boxer. But in my opinion, he's the most boring fighter I've ever watched. He makes, and if you guys remember watching these guys fight, he makes Vladimir Klitschko and John Ruiz look like they're Boom Boom Mancini in the ring. Okay, that's how boring Devin Haney is. It's more nerve-wracking than watching Devin Haney fight is listening to his father. I think that Devin Haney, one of his knocks, aside from being so boring, is that he has a tendency to be overconfident in the ring. Norman has some pop. I think Ryan Garcia exposed him and his suspect chin. His defensive prowess has gotten him, has protected him. But he has fought some really good opposition. Now, he steps in the ring with Brian Norman Jr. He, too, is undefeated at 28-0 with 22 of his wins coming by knockout. He's got 100 rounds as a pro. Like I said, 134 rounds less. He's got a 30% knockout ratio higher than Devin Haney at 79%. He's the WBO World Welterweight Champion. It's his title on the line on Saturday. The computer has him ranked at number 2 because he's the WBO champ. He's not rated by the WBC, the IBF, or the WBA. The Billy C Boxing rankings has him ranked at number 4 in the world. Both The Ring and ESPN have him at number 1. He is an orthodox fighter. Like I said, they're about the same height. He is 3 years younger. His third, he does have a no contest fight as well. His last 6 fights, he was 5-0, 3 by knockout, and 1 no contest, was against Danielson Figueroa, in March of 2024. I was ringside for that at the Turning Stone. He got cut up really bad, and they had to stop the fight. It became a no contest. But the other 5 fights that he had, he won an 8-round decision over Jesus Campos in May of 2023. In November of 23, he won a 10-round decision over Quinton Randall. In May of 24, he stopped Giovanni Santillan in 10 rounds. And in March of 2025, he stopped Derek Cuvas in addition to that no contest. So he's fought those 6 times in the last he's fought in the last 5 years. In the last 2 years, he's fought those 6 times. So in my opinion, he's been a little busier than Devin Haney. As far as fighting skills, this guy's a full package. He can box, he can move, but he's got some power. How do I see this fight going? Well, to be honest with you, my bias against Devin Haney is going to shine through here, but I honestly believe that Brian Norman Jr. is going to upset Devin Haney, and he's going to stop him. I don't think Devin Haney's the same fighter, especially after Ryan Garcia beat the shit out of him. The next fight is one I alluded to earlier, and I really like this fight. This is putting 2 young fighters against each other. This is what the U.S. boxing scene needs more of. The English boxing scene has seen a lot of this, and Sam Noakes, who's from the U.K., can attest to that. He's 17-0 with 15 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer ranks him at number 10 in the world. The WBO has him at number 2. He's not rated by the WBC, IBF, or the WBA, or Billy C Boxing rankings. The Ring magazine has him at number 8, and ESPN rankings does not have him ranked. He's 28 years old. He's actually 7 years older than his opponent. He's an orthodox fighter. They're about the same height. He's got 21 more rounds as a pro with 80, and he's got a 89% knockout ratio. He's got 2 more years as a pro, but he's got 2 less fights. His biggest wins to date, December of 2024, he won a 12-round decision over Ryan Walsh, which was a big fight over on the other side of the pond. In April of 2024, he won a 12-round decision over Yvonne Mendy, who was at the end of his career. Those are the 2 biggest fights of his career, and this fight is for the vacant WBO World Lightweight title. And he steps in the ring with another young fighter, Abdullah Mason, who's 19-0 with 17 of his wins coming by knockout, which is also a little less than a 90% knockout ratio. He's a southpaw at 21 years old. The computer ranks him at number 6. The WBO has him at number 1. The WBC, IBF, WBA, and Billy C Boxing rankings, along with ESPN rankings, all do not have him ranked. But the Ring magazine has him ranked at number 9. The last 9 fights were all wins by stoppage, including the last 2, Jeremiah Nakathila and Carlos Ornelas. Both were not able to continue on their stools. They weren't able to continue. The rest of them were all legit TKOs or knockouts against some decent opposition. To me, Abdullah Mason seemingly has fought the tougher opposition. It's an even fight. I believe it's a 50-50 fight. I'm leaning towards Abdullah Mason in this one as much as I love the UK boxers. So I'm picking Abdullah in this one. In a fight I can't wait to see. It's just screaming that it's going to be action-packed. And this, of course, is the unification fight between Jesse Bam Rodriguez against Fernando Martinez. Martinez is the WBA World Junior Bantamweight Champion. He's 34 years old, 9 years older than Bam Rodriguez. He's 5'2" with a 64-inch reach, which are both disadvantages for him. He's 18-0 with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer has him at number 4. He's not ranked in any of the other sanctioning bodies because of his title. I don't have him ranked in the Billy C rankings. The Ring has him at number 1. ESPN rankings have him at number 2. His last 5 fights were fought and won unanimous decision over Jerwin Anasias. He fought him twice. He beat him in February of 22 and then October of 22. And he fought and won 2 times against Kazuto Ioka, both unanimous decisions on July 7th, 24 and May 11th in 25. And he stopped Jade Bonilla in the 11th round in June of 2023. Those were his last 5 fights. Now he steps in the ring with, and by the way, his knockout ratio is only 50%. He steps in the ring with arguably one of the pound-for-pound top fighters today, action-packed guy. Who doesn't love Jesse Bam Rodriguez? He's the WBC and WBO World Super Flyweight Champion or Junior Bantamweight Champion, however you want to look at it. And he holds the ring belt. The computer ranks him at number 1. I don't have him ranked because I haven't ranked that weight class yet. The WBC, WBO, the WBC and WBO, he's the champ. And then the IBF, WBA don't have him ranked. ESPN has him at number 1, and the Ring magazine has him at as their champ. He's got 123 rounds as a pro, 4 less than his opponent, but his knockout ratio is 68%. It's almost 20% more than his opponent, Martinez. Like I said, he's 9 years younger. He's a southpaw. He is going into this fight with a 2-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. You have to go all the way back to 2020 when he fought a less than good, or I should say less than a very good opponent when he blew out Gianiel Rivera, who was 18-6 with 3 draws at the time. He blew him out in 1 round. But when you look at the rest of his resume, I mean, he won his title against he won a title against Carlos Cudras. He beat Witzka Scott Wangok. He beat Israel Gonzalez. He beat Christian Hernandez, Sonny Edwards, Juan Francisco Estrada, which is a great fight, and Pedro Guerrera, all wins. But the fight against Sonny Edwards, if you didn't see this fight, it took place on, when was this fight? December 16th in 2023. What a great fight. It was a unification fight. Sonny Edwards is a tough fight. That fight, in my opinion, put Jesse Bam Rodriguez on my map. Who's going to win this fight? I think it's going to be an entertaining fight like all of Bam Rodriguez's fights are, but I'm picking Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Now, for the main event, it's a big fight. David Benavidez going up against Anthony Yarde. Look, Anthony Yarde is no slouch. This guy is 23 wins, 3 losses, 24 of his wins coming by way of knockout. of his 3 losses, he was stopped twice. He was stopped in the 11th round by Sergey Kovalev back in 2019. And he was stopped in the 8th round against Artur Beterbiev in January of 23. So, I mean, he was stopped by 2 powerful guys. He also lost a split decision against Lyndon Arthur in 2020, which he avenged in 2021. This guy's been a light heavyweight his whole career. As a matter of fact, he's fought over 175 a bunch of times, weighing as much as over 180 pounds. He's 34 years old, which is 6 years older than David Benavidez. He's given up 2 inches in height. He's got an 89% knockout ratio, which, believe it or not, is 10% more than Benavidez. The computer ranks him at number 9. The WBC has him at number 4. WBA has him at number 3. The Ring has him at number 4. We have him at number 7. ESPN has him at number 7, and he's not rated by the IBF or WBA. This guy's a power puncher. He's in great shape. He comes at you. He's going to, want to have the push the action. But here's the problem with him, I believe, that, he's too muscle bound. He runs out of gas. His shot at winning this fight is early in the fight. Now he steps in with the monster, David Benavidez. David Benavidez is the WBC. He's now considered the WBC World Light Heavyweight Champion. It's listed as the WBC interim, but he's the WBC champ as well as the WBA's regular light heavyweight champion. The computer has him at number 2. He's not rated by the IBF or WBO because of those 2 titles. We have him ranked at number 3. ESPN has him ranked at number 3, and Ring Magazine has him ranked at numero 2. He's 28 years old, 6 years younger than Yarde. Like I said, he's 2 inches taller. He's got 2 more years as a pro under his belt. His last super middleweight fight was a stoppage win over Demetrius Andrade in 2023. He's only fought 2 times as a light heavyweight. Rumor has it he's having a hard time making the weight, so he might be a little drained. I don't know. He's got some great wins in the super middleweight division. Ronald Gravel twice, Jalen Love, Anthony Durrell, which was a banger, Ronald Ellis, David Lemieux, who was actually just a fat middleweight when he stepped in and fought him. And he beat Khalid Plant and Demetrius Andrade. His 2 fights in the light heavyweight division was Alexander Vadzik in a tough fight. He went the distance with him, and he went the distance with David Morrell. He won a unanimous decision, but a lot of people thought he might have lost that fight, or at least the scores were not the way it should have been. Here's the thing, my opinion. David Benavidez needs more work, boys and girls. He doesn't have any footwork. He plods forward. He doesn't display much boxing ability to me. He did not have an amateur career, so he is learning on the job. We got to give him that. But I'm telling you right now, this is a tough fight for David Benavidez. Anthony Yarde is no slouch. I think it's going to boil down to what the beginning of this fight is. I know that the corner of David Benavidez is going to tell him to use his height and his reach and try to box him, try and get him into the later rounds and then inflict damage. But David Benavidez likes to bang. He likes to get in there and fight. He's been the bigger guy. He's not going to be so much the bigger guy on Saturday. Even though he's having trouble making weight, that's not a good sign. I see this being a very entertaining fight. And to be honest with you, I would not be shocked at all if Anthony Yarde stops David Benavidez. But my official prediction is David Benavidez. I do think he's going to get Anthony Yarde a little tired. I'm running out of time here, but let me give you my Billy C's lightweight rankings. Now, if you're new to this, you know that I'm only doing 9 weight classes. I'm doing the original 8 plus the cruiserweight. So some of these names you're going to see are combined ratings between welterweight and junior welterweight and welterweight. So my number 1, And by the way, after I get done with them, when I do the flyweights, I am going to be putting out my rankings once a month. If you want to get put on that list, just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing, and I'll put you on the list. One thing I do want to give a shout out is this show, the Talking Boxing with Billy C podcast version, is being featured on the front page under sports, under the featured section on Amazon Music. So check us out, give us a like, sign up, subscribe, all those things. We appreciate Amazon Music for doing that for us. My lightweight rankings: number 1, Teofimo Lopez. Number 2, Tank Davis. Still putting Tank Davis in there because he hasn't been out for more than a year. Number 3, Richardson Hitchens. All three of them from the United States. Subriel Matias out of Puerto Rico. Number 4, Shakir Stevenson. I know people are going to think he should be up there more. I just don't know yet. Okay. The Tavern saying Benavidez is going to bust up Yarde. It's not going to be an easy fight, bro. I'm telling you right now. I hope I'm wrong, but number 5, Shakir Stevenson. Number 6, Ray Murtalia out of the United States. Number 7, Adam Azim out of the UK. Number 8, William Zepeda out of Mexico. Number 9, Dalton Smith out of the UK. Number 10, Arnold Barbosa out of the United States. Number 11, Alberto Pulo out of the United States. And number 12, Keyshawn Davis out of the good old USA. Hey, great show. I want to thank Dax and Coach Dave for coming on. We've got to thank my main man, Coach K, for giving me all the questions to ask my buddy Henry Discombobulating Jones. We will have him back on. We got some great guests coming up to close out the year, and we're already booking into next year, so I appreciate all the support. But remember, make sure you tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby. Make sure you tune in, sign, subscribe.